everybody, or actually afternoon, it just clicked over. I'm just checking to see if anyone else is out there. If you just want to shoot me a comment to let me know you're up, and we will get going. So just waiting to see, just waiting to make sure you can hear me loud and clear. We up? Okay, I can see one person coming on. And we'll just give it a few minutes, that awkward silence of Facebook Live. Okay, good. There's people entering the room now. So what I want to do is I'll just introduce myself very quickly, give you a short kind of funny story because I can't work out how to flip a video in Facebook Live on a PC, which is thoroughly entertaining, right? So what we'll do is, let's get going. So my name's Dr. JD Swanson. I am ironically not a professor anymore. I now work for the US federal government, working on building research infrastructure throughout the United States. Great job, really neat place to work. So what I want to do is, I'm a 6th Dan within the ISKF, right, a fairly big organization worldwide, very, very close partners with JKA. And what I want to do today is I want to talk through sort of and build on my previous classes. I've been on Facebook Live or for Karate at Home a total of 4 times so far. And my 4 classes, I had to write them down. The first one, way back in May of last year, was looking at Kihon and how to teach your body a new way how to move, right? So if you want to look that one up. The second class I did was about the application of Kihon and how you can relate that into Kumite. My third one was looking at how different kata can inform one another. So if we look at, say, Heian Yondan, Jion and Jin, how common movements relate to each other to link it together. My next class, number 4, was on Kihon and how you interrelate basics in Kihon into relating into kata. And I used Heian number 3, or Heian Sandan, as an example. What I want to do today is I want to interrelate this time is looking at an advanced kata, or so-called advanced kata called Wankan, and looking at how that interrelates and how we can use it to teach our bodies how to move. Wankan, by some arguments, is a very simple kata, very simple movements. But at the end of the day, it's a kata that's very complex. Why is it placed at the 4th, 5th Dan level? And so let's do a deep dive into it today and work on it together. Sound like fun? Awesome. So a couple of notes. First of all, my video is flipped. Okay, I cannot figure this out for the life of me when I run off a PC. So this side here is actually my right side. This side here is actually my left side. So when I move into the kata, it's actually going to look like, for example, I'm on the wrong side. So just a heads up, and we'll sort of work with that as we go through. But the thing is that the story is going to be the same. So don't worry about that as we move through. The kata's flipped. At worst, you learn a mirror image of Wankan, right? But again, the story and the body feel that I want will come through clearly. So with that, just last thing, I just want to thank both Martin and Nadia for allowing me to come on and train with you all. I always enjoy coming on and hanging out with you. Let's get going. So from here, hey, Dutch, hey, woos. Good, let's warm up. So arms forward. Just a very light warm up today. Backwards. Good, out and back. Good, out and in. Good, reaching over. And over to the other side. Good, reach forward, legs a little bit further apart, just relaxing down. Good, over to your left, to your right. Good, making Zenkutsudachi. Just relaxing down. Good. From here, put your instep of your back foot down, right foot, just toe heel out, hand down. Put your hand either on the left knee or reach up to the ceiling, just relaxing through the hip flexor. Good, and switching over. Good, Zenkutsu. Relaxing down. Good, one knee down, and step down, toe heel, hand flat, hand on knee, or reach up. Good, roll over. Good, and up. From here, just grab a wall, any wall. Feet straight ahead, just push your hips down, stretching out through the calf. Good, from here, release the knee, so just let it bend. Oh, that'll release the hip upwards, and then pushing down again, forward into the wall. This will deepen the stretch down into your Achilles tendon. Good, and switch. Just straight leg, push the hip forward, stretch through the calf. Bend the knee. Excellent. From here, just making Zenkutsu, just pushing forward, just stretching under. Just one nice sort of wall-supported stretching, go a little bit further. If you're like me and sit in an office all day for your work, your hip flexor tends to get very, very tight. Good, and switch. Excellent. And coming up. Hips round, nice big circles. And the other way. Good, grab hold of your instep, bring your knee close and just pushing forward, nice and relaxed. If that's sort of easy for you, you can pull a little bit further back, sort of roll a little bit further forward like so. Good, switch, other leg, grab, reaching out. If you've got goofy balance, just squeeze it in, put an arm out to help you, and relax. Very good. One more, just quick turn, one way and the other. Excellent. Okay, so let's rock and roll. What I want to talk about today is the kata one kan or king's crown, right? And there's all sorts of fantastical stories about Funakoshi's son going off, learning half this kata from a master instructor in Okinawa, and then the master passing on before he was able to get the rest of the kata out, and blah, blah, blah. The thing that interests me about this kata, though, is that it's made up of seemingly very simple movements that then go off and interrelate into, and it gets placed as this very high-level kata. And so how can something of seemingly simple movements be such a high-level kata? What has it got that's extra? And so what I'm going to do is today I'm going to give you my impression on that. And what I'm going to do is, this is also a poorly documented kata. So what I want to do is I want to talk about some of the different versions and about why and how those different versions came about. There is not one version that's correct. Kanazawa did a different version from what was done in the JKA, and there's several variations within the JKA. I'm going to stick strictly to the JKA version, but I will show you different alternatives as we work our way through, and you can make those fit your body. So what you'll notice is that I have a way that I do it if I was doing it for a test, but I have other ways that I use it for training to teach me different things. So before we start, just another comment. Remember, this is my right side, This is my left side. So again, the kata is going to be mirrored for you, okay? And I'm sorry, tears, but we'll do our best as we go through. So, without further ado, let's get started with the kata. So the version that we're going to do, and we're just going to run through it very quickly, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the views and ideas that I have within this kata. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first movement, I'm going to move to my left side. That's this side here, right, towards Funakoshi Sensei, right, who's on the wall here. First movement is from here called Kutsudachi into Kikiwakyuke, and you're simply going to expand out, just like so, on a 45-degree angle to your left-hand side, making Kikiwakyuke like so. So that's the first action. Second action, squeeze across, make Kikiwakyuke to your right side. From here, squeeze up, come up, bring hands and feet, just showing bone, step forward, reach, like so. From here, double punch. From here, I'm going to rotate, my back leg is going to come up, I'm going to go to my left side, blocking, over the top, other hand coming underneath, making the Kwashidachi, like so. From here, I expand out with my right leg, left hand comes out, making Kame. Basically Taisho Uchi. From here, punching, then squeezing in, rear leg, or the front leg becomes the rear of Nikwashidachi, front leg squeezes in, coming over the top with my right hand, other left hand coming in underneath, like so. Then from here, squeeze out, left hand, right leg, double punch. From here, front leg moves, fires out, makes Kibadachi, Tetsui Uchi. One. Then from here, Maigiri, Oizuki, Ich. Maigiri, Oizuki. Then one more, Maigiri, Oizuki. Last movement is simply reach round, hand comes back, making Yamazuki, Sword Shundachi. Then from there, coming up, and that's the kata. Very, very simple, right? A very, very simple kata in placement, but the idea is that it's very clever and it's very deep underneath. So once again, let's walk through it. From here, moving to my left, Kikiwakyuke, Kokutsudachi. Ich. From here, squeeze across, step, and across. 3, lift my right leg up, bone, step forward, Kame. Left hand's out, right leg is out. Double punch, 1, 2, squeeze up into a left leg forward, Nikwashidachi, my left hand is underneath, my right hand is out. Squeeze forward with my right leg, left hand goes out, double punch, squeeze up, left leg is in front, right hand is long, squeeze out, left hand is in front, right leg is out, double punch. From here, front leg moves, Kibadachi, Tetsui Uchi, Maigiri, Oizuki. My left leg and left arm are going to make those techniques. Kick, punch, repeat, right leg is going to make those techniques. Left leg is going to make those techniques. Now from here, squeeze, back leg moves, left hand comes in, Yamazuki, Sword Shundachi, then Yame, coming up. Okay, so that's the kata, nice and easy, yes? So everyone's good with that. There are other versions of this kata, so I want to go through, and it's primarily to do with the first couple of movements. And I'm going to go through those just very quickly. Kanazawa Sensei, when he does this kata, he replaces the Kokutsudachi Kikiwakyuke, he replaces it with a cross step and Nikwashidachi. Then cross step, Nikwashidachi. The rest of the kata is identical, right? So he does this nice, beautiful, calming, I think of doing this on a beach where it's sunny and it's beautiful, right? Marcel, right, this would be right up your alley. From here, having the feeling of just stepping across, mellow, this feeling. mellow, then continuing through the kata. The other version that I've seen around, and I see it occasionally, is where a cross step is added and kokutsudachi is executed. Cross step, cross. Right? So again, it seems to be this sort of internal argument about what this first step means. The two we're going to deal with in this class is going to be kokutsudachi, Kikiwa Kyuke, and Kanazawa Sensei's version of going into Nikkwashi dachi. So the cool thing about this kata is, to me, what makes it advanced, because they're very simple movements, yes? There's not a lot to them, right? I'm simply making some kokuts. I could do Han Yondan and get this. I've sort of got this funny sort of stepping piece and these expansions, but Sochu really kind of gives me this. I've got some Nikkwashi dachi here. That's kind of cool. And then I've got basics, bang, kick, punch, and then a Yamazuki. I mean, I can really get that out of the side-eye. What is it that makes this advanced? And here's where the interesting piece happens. If you talk to Yaguchi Sensei, he quite often makes comments that kata is about teaching your body how to move. And application is something that comes as a result of understanding how your body moves. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about these internal actions. And when I think, the more and more I've been training, the more my understanding has gone to not just thinking about the outward motion. I can make a kata like so and make it look correct, but it lacks that internal understanding. And that internal understanding is not necessarily where my arms and legs are going. They can be in the right shape. But the question is are they going through the right feeling as I execute the technique? And that's what I want to go with today. Is I don't want to talk about the end movements. I don't want to talk about the shapes. What I want to talk about is the feeling internally that this kata gives you, because herein lies the advanced piece of this kata. So what you want to do for this first action, as you make this, and all of you have done Han Yondan before, I assume, as you go, you know the good old-fashioned sheet for this. Set one foot up, the one that's going to be held, the other legs go in, body moves, and you open. And you know that that opening is not based on simply the one leg sort of pushing out. You see people sort of stutter stepping as they go. It's rather an opening of both legs. It's this expansion across your hips. Here, whoa, this feeling, this kind of whoa, open. And so when I push, it's not me turning and sort of trying to push my leg directly out. It's more me sort of opening from the hip joint and expanding. And what will happen is if my bum sticks out, I can't do it. If I try and push my leg out, I can't do it. It's only when I sit, squeeze, and drop into the stance that it actually happens. So what I want you to do is we're going to do Han Yondan, both sides, starting from up here, and I want you to really think about that opening of the hip, this piece here. So as we go, just feel, set this foot so the blade edge is straight. I'm going to be stepping out with my left leg. Feel from here, this opening. And just feel that expansion. Come on back. Feel it again. Open and expand. Knee. Good. Try it again. Sun. There. Good. And what you should feel is that your body should not be shifting forward. Rather, it simply opens and drops into place. Right? My center falls almost directly. Now, if I'm standing on these two lines, my actual shoulder width is about here. My center is right here. If I put it right over the center line here, and as I expand down into the stance, my center simply drops directly over that line. Yeah? That's the definition of kokutsu. So as you go, I'm not changing my body weight. I'm keeping tight through holding my butt, whoop, squeeze, keeping tight here through the center. And as I expand out, it's this opening of my hips is what I'm using. So what you want to do is you take what you've learned, and let's do it on the other side real quick. So let's go. So now let's open to our right side, the wrong side for Han Yondan. Good, and up. Try it again. Knee. Try it one more time. Sun. Very good. So again, you're feeling that opening, and you see that later on in here, and you'll know, of course, with the open and expansion of this. It's the requirement of both legs to be pushing and expanding out is what you're looking for here. So with one kan, what you've got to do now is rather than doing this plain expansion out, the expansion is now this way. And something that's unique to one kan, John Keeling told me this, is that when he was learning it in Japan, he mentioned that one kan was not a fast and slow action. Most of these sort of slow actions that we have a quick component and then they slow down. One kan doesn't have that. It's got this impression of slow action throughout the movement. And with that slow action throughout the entire movement requires you to flex, and hold and open in a really tough way. So what you want to do is do the whole action this time. This whole squeeze of kikiwaki-uke, squeezing out on an angle, pushing off both legs, adjusting the rear heel into this action here, and coordinate it all together. You don't want to be like this kind of ninja. Wait a minute, I'll add ninja music so it sounds good. And then you shake a little bit to show all of your tension because you're so strong. Instead, feel this beautiful smooth action where the hip is connected to the body, the arms are out, everything moves in harmony as you make the technique. Okay, so let's try that first action of kikiwaki-uke into kokuts. Make sure, squeeze, squeeze, and open. Let the legs open out and let that move in concert with your elbows. Hey, each. Good. Try it one more time. Knee. Very good. Now our second action, what I want you to do here is I want you to get a feeling like you're wringing through your central body of a towel. So feel like you're getting your body, it's not moving as a single unit. It's not moving here and then up and then down. What I want you to do is I want your arms to stay here, squeeze and feel a pull all the way across your body here. Whoa, this feeling. So feel how I'm emphasizing it again. I'm using this to help you train the kata. When you do this, this will be far more subtle. So you're here, feel, squeeze across your body. So from here I can feel a stretch all the way from shoulder to hip. Then let it go and let it melt into the next technique. This internal transitional feeling across your body is what I'm convinced this kata is after. It's not about the end movement, but it's about the transitional movement from one move to the other. So let's try it together. Hey, each. Very good. Now from here, hold, 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 let it go. And what you notice is that next kikiwaki-uke is almost, because you're tight here, you simply relax and melt into the second movement. You simply relax into it. So it's this feeling here, you end up with this action of then squeeze, let it go, like so. And you can feel remnants of that actually in kikiwaki-uke, right? My technique is not here. If I square this up to you, my technique is here. It's right over this leg, like I'm flying an aeroplane, and this is my gun sight. It's not out here. So I have a pull from this elbow to this hip already in place. So if you notice in the technique, and I'm asking you to listen to how your body, how your core feels as you move. Feel from here as we go. One. There, I can feel this pull. Leave that pull, hold it, stretch it a little further. Let it go. There. Now this, I can feel a pull now between here and here. I simply let that go to the next action. So what this does is this allows you to use your body kind of like a spring. I stretch my rubber band, I stretch it further, I let it go. Now this rubber band stretched, I let it go, and then I continue. And this is the feeling that you want throughout the kata. This is the feeling or the flavor or the taste that you want through this, being aware of where these pulls are as you wring the towel and then let it go as it conforms back to shape. You want that within the kata. So let's try those first two movements, maybe a couple of times, just so that we're nice and warm. Hey, each, knee, hold it, hold it, hold it, let it go. Good. And feel, open, push, warm. This feeling. One more time. Hey, each. You feel an expansion here. Let it go. Hold, hold, hold. Let it go. Very good. One more time, and then we'll move on. Ready? Hey, each. Now hold it, hold it, hold it. Let it go. Now feel this one. From here, now just let this go. Ooh. And I go up. Now, from here, this action here, the idea of it, of course, is that you've got bone just to your opponent and you're pushing forward, right? You expand in. How do you create that same muscle stretchy piece? Well, the answer is simple. You take a lesson from Tiki Nidan. Tiki Nidan, as you all know, starts here, lifts, squeezes, and drops, right? It has this very sort of heavy kind of feeling to it. As you make that stretch, what you want within Tiki Nidan, what you want is you want this feeling of here, feel it not just coming to here, but you want this extra stretch through the rib cage, right? So it's not just here where it's comfortable. Push up, don't raise your shoulder, keep your shoulder down and lift. And that stretches the rib cage out. The intercostal muscles that hold your ribs together get stretched. Then let them go. In Tiki Nidan, you do this as an explosive action. You see this push, pull, this expansion up and down through the rib cage fairly consistently. Think of techniques, hand yondan, rib cage up, adds that power, that compression. Even to simple techniques here, making sotuke, it's that same compression through the rib cage that you're using here. It's not just shoulder action, it's body action. So when you're here, feel that lift and drop. So it's not actually me lifting my knee, lifting through here. It's me lifting here that makes the drop. In one kan, we do it in a much more harder, controlled fashion. So what we're going to do here, let's go back. Let's make our first motion. Each. Squeeze across, hold, hold, hold. Let it go. Then from here, lift up. And as you move, don't just sort of go and make it empty, right? You know, and you can see the stupid face as I go. Don't just make it this. Rather, feel from here, as you lift, expand, expand. Keep your elbows together, lift through the rib cage, create that potential energy, and then let it decompress as you smooth your way down and smooth into the next technique. So notice what we're doing here. Each time, instead of having the rubber bands finish here, and then we fire them each time, what we're doing is we're stretching the rubber bands and letting them go. Stretching the rubber bands and letting them go. And in one kan, it's done consistently in a mellow fashion throughout the entire kata. So if we're here, right, we come up, one, now expand, then feel that drop. Feel that expansion, and then step and push. Another thing that I do just with mine is I have the impression here, as I step forward, I make this hand here almost like I'm touching a person all the way through. That when we move, I feel this whoa as they go away. Whoa as they go away. And this hand is in contact and rides with them. So again, it's that smoothness of the technique. So feel here, one, two, expand, then push. One more time. And again, you want that nice smoothness of action. One more. Up. Expand. Let it go. There. One more time. Here. Expand. Let it go. Good. So I'm using my elbows to lift, but that in turn forces my rib cage to lift. I'm not lifting my shoulders. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this. Keep these down. Lift. And feel your rib cage expand. And I'm using that to go out into the next technique. Now, one more time. This time, let's focus on the end at how we wind up the rubber band again. So we're here. We expand, push. Now as you go, feel this hand push and push this hip. Meanwhile, feel this hand pull back. And what you notice is you're impinged. You stop by your back hip. It stops as far as your flexibility allows. Boom. This pulls a little bit further, so my hips are square, but my shoulders actually expand slightly further, creating a stretch. Now what I can do is I can use that to fire this hip forward into my double punch. So what I'm doing here, as I move through the whole kata, I'm here, expand, I can feel a stretch here. I let it, keep it here, feeling the stretch, let it go. I feel the stretch here, I let it go, squeeze, expand down. Now I can feel the stretch, whoop, like the rubber band. Then I let the rubber band go, which provides two powerful punches. And you've seen that before in kata like MP, right? When you're here, it's not just holding kama. It's not just, and then you spin up the FTL drive, right? That's impotent. There's nothing there. It's an expansion here, then letting it go, right? Same thing in Basada. It's not just here making kama, it's here. That way, now I can let this go, then make the drop into Basada. So have that feeling all the time of expand, 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 melt. Then I'm here, and now what's happening is I'm back in the same stretch that I was in before. From here, I simply let that stretch go. I release this back leg, so I can either release from here, I can either release it through my shoulders and my top, boom, boom, to create the two punches, or alternatively, I can release it from underneath. This is the lesson of this part of the kata. So I release my bottom leg, and it snaps up into Nikawashi Dutch quite easily and quite naturally. So it's that feeling of here, up, not, and it requires very little effort on my part, providing I've got the stretch here already established for my second punch. I simply release, take this click off the hair trigger, it naturally snaps into place. The hands can go either round or above and below. It depends on your application. It's something we don't need to go into here. I'm more interested in this twisting action, right? So we're here, make tate shito to start with, feel that expansion across the body, and then just let it go. There's the technique we want. Now, you've still got that stretch all the way from here to my heel, to my fist. I let it go, and up I go into Nikawashi Dutch. Now from here, feel, opposite leg comes through, make the same expansion, right? Don't just sit here and make it ninja-like. Don't just sit here and go, expand. Allow this to push and pull. Allow it to work against the stretching of the hips and work you into the limits of your flexibility, right? So we're here, feel here, then release those two punches. Again, then release this leg again, go on a 180, and feel the technique flip around and connect, right? So you're seeing that it's repeating the same expand story, this feeling. So notice this whole kata is a story of using our body to make the towel tighter and then letting it go each time to allow you to execute the following techniques. And it does it from both an upper body perspective as well as a lower body perspective. In terms of, here, if I release it through the top half of my body, boom, punches come out naturally, easily, and strongly. If I let it go from my lower half, now my stance change comes up naturally, easily, and strongly. So each time I make a technique, what I learned from one kan is that I do not need to spin up my FTL drive from Battlestar Galactica each time. All I need to do is rely on the natural body tension that I've created from the movement before to allow me into the next technique. That's the idea. So let's go through all of the kata up to here. So nice and relaxed. Hey, feeling that body stretch each time. Hey, feel, expand. Knee, hold it, hold it, hold it. Let it go. Then feel here. You've got a stretch here. Let it go. Bring it up. Step, step, step into another stretch. So you feel the rubber band lift up, release, and then expand. Whoa. Now from here, let the rubber band go. Pum, pum. Now let it go. This time through the legs. Up it comes. Now recreate the stretch. Let it go. Now let it go from the bottom. Now let it go. Wind it up. Now let it go. And this is the flavor. This is the taste. Make sense? And so also, because these movements are not just outward shapes, this is what makes this kata advanced, right? It causes you to wind up each time within that twist to let it go into the next techniques. Remember, these kata were not taught as, this is kokutsu kikiwakyuke. Then you step across, kokutsu kikiwakyuke. These are not names. They're verbs, right? They're doing words. So allow the transition between verbs to dictate how you move through the kata. That's the idea here. For this one, for one kan. So let's go through the whole thing again, and then we'll carry on with the last piece. So again, feel that expansion. Feel. When I lift, I can let this, oh, there goes my hip. When I push, oh, there goes my arm. You can play with that. And as long as you end at the same time, everything's copacetic. Let's go again. So once again, for those who are new on, don't forget my mirror. This is actually my right side. This is my left side, right? My video is flipped. So just noting for anyone who's just joining us now. I'm not that good to be able to do the kata back. Oh, I could, but it wouldn't look as good. So from here, have the same feeling, have that stretch through your torso, and concentrate on that. Not on the picture at the end, but rather the progression through the movement. Again, I'm going to point these out as we go. Each, expand, feel that elbow, hip connection. Now from here, feel, hold, through. Then from here up, expand, let it go. Feel the tension now. Here, this, punch. Then expand. Now let it go through the bottom. Now expand out. Now punch. Now let it go through the bottom. Good. Now expand. Let it go. Now you've got that expansion still. Right? So this is that same feeling and that same relaxed heaviness as it goes. Note that the kata at the beginning gets you to establish the feeling, establish directionality. And then up here at the business end, it repeats the same thing. One of them gets you to establish the feeling of the stretch. By the time I get to here, now it's going on to the meat and potatoes. How you apply that feeling. I can punch, or I can move my legs. I can expand it. Let's see what happens again. I can punch, or I can move my legs. I can stretch, I can punch, or I can move my legs in another direction. And notice how the kata is well constructed to go back and define through, to teach you the pieces that you need. So let's go into the next action. So from here, now I've just made my 2 punches. I've got my stretch from here to here. It's holding. Now from here, well, the other kata, what it had us do before was it had us release the back leg, yeah? And we could be stuck in an inverse time loop like that forever. Instead, what this has us do is it says, well, what if we release the front leg? So we release the front leg, and it creates the next technique. Again, instead of here releasing the back, which is going to cause the hips to twist this way from the stretch here to here, what it does here is by me releasing this leg, that's going to cause this hip to make a short shift. And so what you're doing here is the kata now is saying, well, we've released the front leg, we've released the front leg, the rear leg. Now what happens if we release the front? And that's what you do. We're here, release the front leg, keep that twist on, just lift it. My technique will naturally happen, even without me pushing it. It happens naturally. What you can also do is mistime this. Rather than making this technique sort of happen here and happen within. So a lot of people will be here, they don't use this tension and they just go this and make it very pretty. But reality, I've got the stretch on, I release it, the technique's already there. The strength is in my hip and in my torso. I simply let it go. What I can do is I can leave this, have my hip go, feel a twist here, and then push that out at the right moment. So rather than it being this sort of round action, moving with the hip, I can leave it slightly behind and make it a whipping technique. This technique in my imagination is a clothesline. I'm just knocking anyone out from here to here, right? So you can leave this just a split longer. So I'm here, I'm in my push-pull, reverse leg position, and I let it go. Now from here, I can feel this is pushing, this is pulling. So again, it's that same twist. I let it go, that's going to release the hip this way, whoa, and my 2 punches go, my kick and my punch. So again, it's this feeling, not me just standing here and then going, right, this kind of thing, but rather feel active tension, pull, push, feel the hip wanting to go in the direction. So I'm actually using, if I think of kibadachi as shomen, hami, hami, I'm actually stretching with this, pushing into hami with my hip. And again, this is moving very, very subtly, boop, that much. I feel that action, but pulling with this. I let it go, whoa, there goes my kick and punch. Again, dynamic, because they're predisposed by the movement immediately preceding it, immediately before. So let's try. We're here, pull, pull. Ish. Good. Now something that's important, don't kick, place, punch. Again, you lose that dynamics. Feel rather the idea of here, expand, kick, that punch, and this drive of the leg, this drive of the leg and the punch happen together. Boom. So from here, expand, kick, punch. Now this time, we've got the same arm, same leg out. And so the dynamic, always before in the kata, was this. Now the dynamic is this, and this pushing forward as hard as you can. It's a different dynamic because the kata says, change it up. So, when I make that, I'm here, I kick, punch, expand, push, push, pull, pull. Then let it go. Click. This is a better technique. Feel push, pull, pull, push, pull, let it go. And it creates that beautiful dynamic action that's predisposed from the technique before it. Remember, one kata is a story of not just making the shape, but creating the dynamics. That's what makes us Yondan Godan level. Okay, so let's go through that sequence just very quickly. So from here, push, push, pull, ish, push, pull. Good, second one. Feel the push, feel the pull. knee up. Feel the push, pull, sun. Good. Now the last action is the one that sort of shows it all. There's two versions that I learned. One of them is here, expands in, and then pushes forward linearly. That one, not so common. It's a slightly older version, you don't see it as commonly. But what I want you to do, in keeping with the drills we're doing, is feel here, keep this the same, then feel as you go, feel this hand dynamically through. So you're here, feel, stretch, dynamically through as it moves. Not just hold, and push to create your body weight driving into the technique, right? To create that action that you want. So one more time. We're here, make the foot, hold the upper body where it is, and feel the drive. Good, then coming up. And this is hand, or one-kan, dynamic. That last movement, by the way, Kanazawa Sensei, I remember him teaching it to me this way, where you finished hand sandan, and instead of just sort of up and then around naturally with the technique, he always used to say, make kind of a torque. Leave your upper body here, bring the legs round, then use that to make the turn. And this is what we're using here in one kan. Bring the foot across, keep the hip here, and then use that action to make the 180. Right, so let's go through the whole kata once more, and then I want to talk about another lesson that's hidden within one kan. So this time, try it with that dynamicism. And again, I'm going to talk you through it. We'll go through it together. From here, feel the expansion of the body. Feel the stretch that then drives the elbows. This is not a block kata. Rather, feel the dynamicism of the action. Ready? Just straight expansion out. I'm getting ahead of myself. Each. Feel expand. Keep it. Let it go. Feel here. Let it go. Feel it up. Expand. Let it go. Now sink into it. Now 2 punches. Let it go. Now you've got your back into that tension feeling. Release it now from the legs. Good. Now build the tension back up. Release it upper body. Release it from the back leg. Release it, build it up again. Release it from the upper body. Release it from the front leg. Good. Now feel hip pushing, arm pulling back. This arm, my momentum is this way. This is holding it back. Release the trigger. Boom. Release the trigger. Push, pull, pull. Sun. One more time. Pull, push, pull. Sun. Good. Now feel expand through. Good. And up. And relax. Good. Easy? Makes sense? This is the piece that helps you. And again, as we're doing this, the way I'm teaching it is what I call a training aid. This is not how you do the kata. This is rather exercises to help you improve the kata and thereby improve your karate do. This is not how I would perform the kata. Notice it's a lot heavier, a lot stronger than what I normally would. But the feeling and understanding through my torso, my abs, are actually sore just from today's training, especially my obliques. Right? Having that feeling there is how I will always do the kata. So let's move on. And just to cool off, we'll talk about one other really neat piece about this kata and the way Kanazawa Sensei does it with the 2 places you do nekwashidashi. Once at the top and once at the beginning. So I recently saw on somewhere on the interweb that somebody was making note that there were multiple versions of nekwashidashi. And there are. right? The classic and most normal way to do it is that you simply make shizentai, let your foot rotate to wherever your natural zenkutsudachi angle is, which hopefully isn't here, but more sort of forward, and you simply bend the knee, bring your foot out to wherever it just sits, right, and then squeeze your thighs together, right? So my feeling is if I was standing on two towels, and if you ever get to train with Dr. Matt Payne, thoroughly encourage you do it, it's as if I'm standing on two towels and I'm squeezing my feet together, right, this feeling. So allow your feet here, allow this, and allow that squeeze inward, as if I'm pulling my feet towards each other. So notice my knees naturally track over my toes. At no time should your foot be out here and your knee be pointing in. This just looks wrong, right? Here, knee, foot. So this is one application, right? Is this idea, this nice straight piece. So my butt's tucked in, my rear knee is bent, my front knee is just relaxed, I'm squeezing in. This is the one that we're used to. There are alternative versions. Remember, Nikuashidachi is really the precursor for kokuts. So there's other versions of Nikuashidachi where instead of having the inward tension feel, you leave it as outward tension. And it creates more of a kokutsudachi feeling with all the other benefits of Nikuashidachi. That's not in this kata either. Interestingly, the piece that becomes cool is Nikuashidachi, squeeze. We can have straight up and down with our back. And if you look at Okinawan styles, you'll quite often see another version where my back is still straight, but notice I've sent my body weight backwards. Just a little bit. So it gives me this feeling of, oh, here, connection or absorbing. And this is also common. And so quite often I'll see one-kan as a way to explore both versions of Nikuashidachi, both the straight back version and, when it's appropriate, the sort of pulling away version, this one here. Again, this is not in any major stream of Shotokan, right? This is not how to do the kata, but it's a way for me to incorporate other ideas within the kata, right? So this is important. So what the kata looks like, if we do the Kanazawa version, we'll talk about the first couple of movements just briefly, and the feeling for those. Nothing that we said previously in the class goes away. Have that same feeling, that expansion. This time my arms remain where I am, and I'm getting a pull across here. And in fact, I can feel my pec actually cramping up as I do that, because I'm compressing so hard. So as you go, feel here, here, then let it go. Then as I step, don't release everything and sort of go across like an old person. Rather feel this expansion, the squeeze in, then keep here, expand, then let it go. Same feeling. So the idea here is, if you use the Nikuashidachi version, is watch your butt and watch how you maintain your sense of center. When you're doing this in the kokuts, it's very easy to maintain that sense of center, especially through your lower body. When you do it out of Nikuashidachi, it's very difficult. Here, especially when you release, it can be tempting to drop like so, and then re-come up, right? You've got to try to maintain that sense of center throughout the entire action, okay? And it's much harder out of the kokutsu, the Nikuashidachi version, than the kokuts. So let's try it with that. So again, I'm stepping out to my left. Each step, cross. Now, maintain, keep that tension in, and cross. Good, then san, shigo, rok, shich. Double punch. Good, now this time, instead of this time coming up, body straight, now feel yourself absorb. Feel this elbow come under and lock into it, release your back, your bum. So this gives you the aversion, the ability to be able to change your technique, still maintain a straight back, but now my focus, instead of being up here, can now be down below, providing me with that power, the body power I need to drive if I'm doing an arm bar, or if I'm grabbing hold of a leg and need to push it, to not have to use my arms, but be able to use my body to push whatever I'm pushing in that direction. So you can use that in that way. In case you're wondering, it's a misnomer to believe that your back must always be perpendicular to the ground. People misinterpret straight for perpendicular to the ground. Remember, Yamazuki, right, is right here. My back is not perpendicular to the ground here. Sorchin, there's an ever so slight lean. It's not straight up. There's a push in the dynamic of the stance. There's a push in the dynamic of the stance, which means that my spine is not perpendicular to the ground, but rather in line with the driving leg. So allow that to maintain, allow that to happen. Here, just ain't going to work. Get someone to push against your fist and you'll topple. It's only when you lean in with your hip underneath you, pushing in the correct line, notice line from here to here, that you end up with that correct application of power, right? So in karate, it's okay to not be perpendicular to the ground. Just be wary that you're not hunching through your back, either tucking this under, tucking it out, right, or head or so forth. I struggle with this a lot. So we're here, we've done our push, bang, bang. This time feel that absorption. It still connects just as strongly. Now expand the hip forward back into your wind up. Now absorb. Notice body, arms out. Expand. Push. Same, the rest. The kata is the same. Boom, 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 boom. Then in turn, expand in again. Notice slight lean to my body as I make Sorchindachi to drive into my opponent. Again, the same theme is maintained within the kata. So from here, let's cool off a little bit. So arms forward, backwards, out and back, out and in, side, opposite side, good, Zenkutsu, ball of foot, heel, switch, ball of foot, heel, good, enough. So the big lesson here is one, I hope you agree with me, that this kata is an advanced kata. It's very difficult. Not because of the actions themselves, not because of the end shapes, but rather because of the movements that it takes to create those shapes and how you can effectively use the energy that you store from the technique before by stretching the rubber band to allow you to flow into the next kata. This is something that's built up in other katas such as Empi. You see elements of it in Basaidai, all the way through, all the way around. So you can apply the lessons from one kan to many of the kata that you already know. Second point, notice that this kata is an explanation of Nikuwashi-dachi if you do the Kanazawa version. And it gives you an opportunity to explore two different versions, a straight pulling down, which has that same connection, versus an absorbing version. Both of them are equally as strong, they just serve different purposes and uses. And then the third point is note the way that I've done the kata and the way that I've taught you today is my interpretation to help you feel motion that you otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to feel. I've purposefully emphasized it a lot more in this class with the idea that you'll go away and work on it and dial it back so that it becomes imperceptible but still there. You see all the time where people, especially in kata like Goju Shihodai or Sho, the pointy finger one, where people all the time make the shape bup, 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 and just this, rather than having the feeling of action, push, pull, then creating that action, that center drive, incorporating the torso. There's a lot to be said about external movements, and many karateka teach you about where the legs go, where they place the action of the arms. But very few karateka talk about the action that goes on internally. And so I hope today provided you with some of that story using one kan as an example. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I look forward, if Martin and Nadia ever want me on again, I'm looking forward to an invitation, if they ever do, after this. But I hope you enjoyed today. Thank you for hanging out with me for an hour through my lunchtime. I can't wait to get back to work. I'm enthused through my karate training. COVID's been a mission, but please take advantage of this time to train with as many good people as you can. I was talking to one of my mentors just recently on the phone, Sensei Steve Ubel, and he commented, you know, be very aware of who you're training with. Take the info, and this is the message he told me, take the information you're getting and look at it with a critical eye. Choose what fits your body, choose what fits you, and work. And what you'll see is that many of us say the same stories, just in different ways. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I look forward to seeing you all in person in a non-COVID world, hopefully really soon. Take care. Thank you. Hey, Sudach. Hey, Us. Thank you for training with me. Look forward to seeing you again.